The Ramayana. Part 1. The Ideal King. Rama as a Blueprint for Leadership. The Ramayana is one of the most profound epics of ancient India, and at its heart stands the figure of Rama, regarded as the embodiment of righteousness, justice, and virtue. Rama's story has been retold across centuries, not merely as a tale of divine adventures, but as a moral compass for rulers, leaders, and individuals alike. His life exemplifies a model of leadership that transcends time and geography, making him the blueprint of the ideal king. Unlike leaders who rule through force or deception, Rama's reign is characterized by fairness, compassion, and a deep commitment to Dharma, the principle of cosmic and social order. To study Rama is to study how leadership can align power with morality. The qualities that make Rama an ideal king are not restricted to his skill in governance, but extend to his personal virtues. A true leader is judged not only by political decisions, but by the character that underpins them. Rama is known for truthfulness, humility, and an unwavering adherence to promises, even when fulfilling them brings personal loss. This emphasis on personal integrity is central to the Ramayana's idea of kingship, for a ruler who cannot govern himself cannot govern others. Rama's devotion to truth and justice provides a mirror for leaders who wish to wield authority responsibly, ensuring that power is exercised for the welfare of all. When Rama is exiled from Ayodhya due to the demands of his stepmother Kaikeyi, he accepts the decision without resentment, showing remarkable restraint and obedience to Dharma. Though he was the rightful heir, Rama chose exile over conflict, thus preventing division within the kingdom. In this moment, the qualities of a true leader are revealed, prioritizing unity over personal ambition, harmony over chaos, and the welfare of the kingdom over his own comfort. Leaders often face crises where they must balance personal rights with collective stability, and Rama's choice provides a timeless example of sacrifice for the greater good. His calm acceptance teaches that leadership often requires giving up one's privileges to protect the integrity of the whole. Rama's conduct as a husband, son, and brother also reflects his suitability as an ideal king. A king is not just a ruler of subjects, but also a member of a family, and his treatment of loved ones speaks volumes about his fitness to rule. Rama honors his father Dasharatha's word even at the cost of his throne, thus displaying deep filial respect. His devotion to Sita accompanying him in the forest illustrates compassion and partnership, while his bond with Lakshmana shows the strength of loyalty and cooperation. These aspects of his character highlight the holistic nature of leadership in the Ramayana. It is not only about governance, but about the moral fabric of relationships that form the foundation of a just society. An important dimension of Rama's kingship lies in his ability to combine strength with empathy. During his exile, he encounters sages, villagers, and tribal communities, treating all with dignity and respect. He does not look down upon those considered marginal in society, but instead honors them, as seen in his friendship with Guha, the Nishada chief, and later with Hanuman and Sugriva among the Vanaras. By valuing allies across boundaries of class and status, Rama demonstrates inclusivity in leadership. A king, according to this model, is not a distant ruler, but one who interacts with his people and draws strength from diverse alliances. This principle remains relevant in modern contexts, where true leadership thrives on inclusiveness and respect for diversity. The war against Ravana, the demon king of Lanka, further reveals Rama's leadership style. While he commands great armies and possesses divine weapons, his strength lies in his ability to inspire loyalty and courage in others. His treatment of allies, from Hanuman to Vibhishana, Ravana's own brother who defected to him, shows his fairness and openness. He accepts Vibhishana without suspicion, recognizing his sincerity and valuing his counsel. This reflects the idea that an ideal king is one who can discern character and give opportunities based on merit rather than background. Rama's leadership here is not authoritarian, but participatory, built on trust and the ability to bring out the best in his companions. A striking aspect of Rama's kingship is his restraint in the face of victory. When Ravana is finally defeated, Rama does not celebrate his enemy's destruction with cruelty or arrogance. Instead, he respects Ravana's valor and grants him an honorable funeral. This act of magnanimity underscores a principle central to ideal leadership. True power lies in showing compassion even to adversaries. In a world where victory often leads to excesses, Rama's conduct offers a powerful lesson in humility and grace. It shows that leadership is not only about winning, but also about upholding dignity, even for those on the opposite side. The concept of Rama Raja, or the reign of Rama, has come to symbolize the golden age of justice and prosperity. In this vision, the king is a guardian rather than a tyrant, ensuring that laws are fair, that no subject suffers injustice, and that prosperity is shared by all. Rama's governance was marked by accessibility, where people could approach him directly with grievances, reflecting transparency and accountability. This ideal kingdom became a metaphor for a society governed by truth, compassion, and moral integrity. It serves as an aspirational model, reminding rulers and citizens alike that the highest goal of politics is the welfare of all beings. However, Rama's reign is not without its dilemmas, which also illustrate the difficult choices inherent in leadership. Perhaps the most debated moment in the Ramayana is his decision to banish Sita, despite her proven purity, because of the doubts expressed by his subjects. This episode reveals the tension between personal happiness and public duty. Rama sacrifices his private life for the sake of maintaining the people's faith in the throne. While modern audiences may find this decision harsh, it highlights the burden of leadership, where a ruler must often choose between conflicting responsibilities. The ideal king is not free of anguish, but is defined by the willingness to bear personal pain for the sake of dharma and collective trust. The enduring legacy of Rama as the ideal king is that he embodies a synthesis of moral principles and practical governance. He is not portrayed as flawless in a simplistic way, but as one who constantly balances competing duties, emotions, and ideals. His strength comes from an unwavering commitment to truth, justice, and the welfare of his people. For contemporary leaders, Rama remains a guiding light, reminding us that leadership is not about domination, but about service. His story continues to resonate because it illustrates how power can be harnessed with humility, responsibility, and compassion. Rama's model of kingship has transcended time, inspiring poets, philosophers, and reformers across centuries. His reign became the archetype of what governance should aspire to be: protective, fair, and moral. In the Ramayana, leadership is not an abstract theory, but lived practice, embodied in the choices and sacrifices of a king who placed dharma above self. The lessons drawn from his life are not bound to ancient Ayodhya, but apply universally to every age and context. In the image of Rama, the world continues to find a blueprint of leadership that blends strength with virtue and authority with compassion. Thus, Rama stands as the timeless example of what it means to be an ideal king. Part 2. Sita's Trial by Fire, Feminism, Faith, and the Forest Exile. The Ramayana is not only the story of Rama as an ideal king, but equally the story of Sita as an enduring symbol of strength, resilience, and sacrifice. Among the most dramatic and debated episodes in the epic is her trial by fire, or Agni Pariksha, which occurs after the defeat of Ravana. Though rescued from captivity, Sita is asked to prove her purity before the assembled court. This moment has provoked centuries of discussion about the intersection of faith, gender roles, and the moral demands of society. For many, Sita's ordeal is viewed as a cruel injustice, yet it also reveals her extraordinary courage and devotion. To read this event deeply is to confront questions of feminism, faith, and the burdens imposed upon women in both ancient and modern contexts. When Sita was taken into the forest exile with Rama and Lakshmana, she demonstrated agency by insisting on accompanying her husband. Though the comforts of Ayodhya were hers by right, she chose the uncertainties of the forest, refusing to be left behind. This decision alone breaks the stereotype of passive femininity, showing her as a figure of loyalty and courage who embraces hardship over ease. In this choice, Sita asserts that devotion does not mean dependence, but rather the conscious choice to share life's trials with one's partner. Her exile is not an act of subjugation, but an assertion of her strength, revealing that her power lies in embracing sacrifice without losing dignity. Sita's capture by Ravana and her imprisonment in Lanka is another test of her inner strength. Despite the temptations and threats placed before her, she remains unshaken in her faith and loyalty to Rama. She does not surrender to despair or compromise her values, but continues to resist her captor with quiet defiance. Feminist readers often interpret this as an act of profound resistance, for in a position where she lacked physical freedom, she exercised mental and moral autonomy. Even when surrounded by fear and isolation, Sita's choice to remain true to herself becomes an act of rebellion against oppression. In this sense, her captivity transforms her into a symbol of resilience, teaching that faith and integrity can be stronger than force. The Agni Pariksha that follows her rescue, however, casts a shadow on her triumph. Rama, mindful of his role as a king responsible for public opinion, demands proof of her chastity before accepting her back. For modern readers, this moment reflects the double standards imposed on women, where their worth is tied to notions of purity rather than their character or strength. Yet within the epic, Sita does not protest or retreat, but boldly walks into the fire to silence doubt. Her act is not one of submission, but of assertion, as she transforms humiliation into a moment of transcendence. Emerging unharmed, she demonstrates that her virtue needs no validation from men, for divine justice itself affirms her truth. This episode raises difficult questions about the relationship between personal faith and social expectations. Rama's demand, though harsh, is framed as a king's duty to preserve the moral order and ensure that no shadow of suspicion taints the throne. Sita's acceptance of the ordeal reflects her recognition of the complexities of dharma, where personal rights are often sacrificed for collective stability. While modern audiences may criticize Rama for failing as a husband, Sita's choice reflects her understanding that leadership carries a burden heavier than personal happiness. She turns her trial into an act of faith, showing that spiritual strength lies in facing the fire with courage rather than despair. From a feminist perspective, Sita's trial embodies both oppression and empowerment. On one hand, it reveals the patriarchal norms that demanded a woman prove her chastity while men remained unquestioned. On the other, it shows how Sita redefined the situation by asserting her agency in the very act meant to degrade her. By choosing to walk into the flames with confidence, she reclaimed power in a context designed to strip it away. This paradox is what makes Sita such a compelling figure for later generations of women, who see in her both the reality of social constraints and the possibility of transcending them through inner strength. Her trial by fire becomes not only a test of purity, but a metaphor for the trials faced by women across ages, where endurance and dignity transform suffering into victory. Sita's life after the forced exile also illustrates the weight of public opinion and the sacrifices demanded by Dharma. Even after the Agni Pariksha, doubts among the citizens of Ayodhya force Rama to send her away again, this time into the wilderness where she raises her sons alone. This second exile reflects the cruelty of societal judgment, which often punishes women despite their innocence. Yet once more, Sita transforms her suffering into strength by nurturing Lava and Kusha into wise and capable heirs. Her resilience in motherhood shows that leadership is not confined to thrones, but can be found in raising future generations with values of truth and justice. Through this, she redefines power as not merely political, but deeply human and nurturing. The symbolism of fire in Sita's trial also carries spiritual significance. Fire is seen in Vedic tradition as a purifier, a witness to truth, and a channel between the human and divine. By emerging unscathed, Sita aligns herself with cosmic justice, proving that truth ultimately triumphs over suspicion. This spiritual reading suggests that her trial was not merely a social ordeal, but a divine affirmation of her strength. In this interpretation, her act becomes a ritual of transformation, where she moves beyond the role of a captive woman into that of a timeless ideal of virtue and resilience. Faith, for Sita, is not passive belief but active courage to face fire, whether literal or symbolic. Modern readings of Sita vary widely, with some seeing her as a victim of patriarchy and others as a heroine of endurance. Both views are valid, for her life embodies the tensions women often navigate between personal identity and social roles. The forced exile becomes a metaphor for the isolation many women experience when judged unfairly, while the Agni Pariksha represents the trials imposed on them by rigid norms. Yet her story endures because she does not break under these burdens. Instead, she transforms them into demonstrations of faith, courage, and inner autonomy. Whether in captivity, in exile, or in trial by fire, Sita emerges as more than a passive figure. She becomes the silent but unyielding force at the heart of the Ramayana. The lesson of Sita's trial by fire is that faith and feminism need not be opposed but can coexist in complex harmony. Her faith gave her the strength to endure trials, while her actions assert her independence and agency within the very structures meant to confine her. She teaches that resilience lies not in escaping hardship, but in facing it with integrity. For readers across centuries, Sita remains an archetype of the woman who endures fire yet emerges radiant, carrying lessons for both men and women about strength, dignity, and justice. Thus, Sita's Agni Pariksha continues to echo as a powerful symbol of the intersection between faith and feminism. Part 3. Hanuman's Leap Devotion That Defies Gravity. Among the many unforgettable episodes in the Ramayana, Hanuman's leap across the ocean stands as one of the most symbolic and inspiring. This moment is not only a feat of physical strength, but also a triumph of faith, devotion, and self-discovery. Hanuman, who had forgotten the true extent of his powers, is reminded by Jambavan of his divine potential. Once awakened to his inner strength, Hanuman takes an extraordinary leap from the shores of India to the island of Lanka in search of Sita. This act has been celebrated for centuries as a metaphor for the power of devotion, where faith in a higher cause enables one to transcend ordinary limitations. His leap defies gravity because it is propelled by a force beyond the physical, the force of unwavering love and dedication. Hanuman's leap is a reminder that strength is often latent within us, waiting to be awakened by purpose. Until Jambavan rekindled his memory, Hanuman doubted himself, unaware of the magnitude of his powers. This hesitation mirrors the human condition, where potential often lies dormant beneath layers of doubt and fear. Yet once faith ignites the spark, limitations dissolve, and seemingly impossible feats become possible. Hanuman's leap is thus more than a story of crossing an ocean. It is a lesson in awakening inner capacity through devotion. The ocean represents the vast challenges of life, and the leap across it demonstrates that courage born of selfless love can conquer obstacles that reason alone might declare insurmountable. The devotion that empowers Hanuman is not abstract but deeply personal. His love for Rama gives him direction and purpose, transforming him into a fearless servant of Dharma. Devotion, in this sense, is not blind submission but a conscious alignment with truth and righteousness. By dedicating his strength to Rama's mission, Hanuman transcends the ego and channels divine power. His leap becomes symbolic of what happens when one's will is harmonized with a higher cause. The impossible becomes attainable. It is devotion, not pride, that carries him across the ocean. In this way, Hanuman exemplifies bhakti, the path of loving surrender, which transforms weakness into strength and doubt into certainty. The trials Hanuman faces during his leap also underscore the depth of his devotion. The ocean is not empty but filled with challenges, including the mountain Menaka offering him rest, Surasa testing him by demanding he enter her mouth, and the demoness Simhika trying to devour his shadow. Each obstacle represents a different form of distraction or danger. Yet Hanuman faces them all with wisdom, humility, and determination. He does not give in to comfort when Menaka offers shelter, for he remembers that his mission is greater than personal ease. He does not waste energy in conflict with Surasa, but instead uses wit and respect to satisfy her demand. Against Simhika, he shows decisive strength, slaying her and continuing his journey. These encounters show that devotion is not only about fervor, but also about clarity of mind, discernment, and the ability to remain unwavering when faced with trials. Hanuman's leap also demonstrates that devotion is not separate from intelligence. His approach to each obstacle reveals creativity and adaptability, qualities often overlooked when devotion is seen purely as emotion. The Ramayana presents bhakti as a holistic path where love, intelligence, and courage come together. Hanuman embodies this integration, showing that true devotion sharpens rather than dulls the mind. His leap is guided by strategy as much as strength, and this balance of heart and intellect is what allows him to succeed. In a world where challenges are increasingly complex, Hanuman's example shows that devotion to a higher purpose must be paired with wisdom to navigate obstacles effectively. Upon reaching Lanka, Hanuman's leap culminates not merely in arrival but in discovery. His search for Sita is not a passive task, but one requiring stealth, perseverance, and empathy. When he finds her in Asoka Grove, his heart is filled with compassion, and his mission acquires an even deeper urgency. His leap across the ocean was driven by faith, but his encounter with Sita confirms the righteousness of his cause. It is in this moment that devotion manifests as service, for Hanuman becomes the link between Rama and Sita, carrying hope across the divide of suffering. His leap is not only physical but emotional and spiritual, bridging despair and faith, captivity and liberation. The image of Hanuman soaring through the skies has also become a cultural symbol of fearlessness and loyalty. Across art, literature, and devotion, this leap is celebrated as the pinnacle of bhakti. It teaches that when one surrenders the self to serve a greater good, the limitations of body and mind are transcended. Hanuman becomes the ideal servant leader, embodying humility without weakness, power without arrogance, and courage without recklessness. His leap has thus inspired countless generations to face their own oceans of difficulty, reminding them that love and devotion are forces stronger than doubt or fear. In spiritual traditions, Hanuman's leap is also seen as a metaphor for the soul's journey toward the divine. The ocean symbolizes the gulf between the human and the eternal, filled with distractions and dangers. The leap represents the moment when devotion enables the soul to transcend the material world and reach divine truth. Hanuman becomes the archetype of the devotee whose faith grants the strength to cross the limitations of mortality. In this interpretation, his story is not only a myth but a spiritual allegory of the human search for God, showing that love is the bridge that carries us across. What makes Hanuman's leap even more inspiring is his complete absence of pride. Despite achieving what no one else could, he never claims credit for himself, but attributes all success to Rama's grace. This humility ensures that his strength is never corrupted by arrogance. His devotion makes him powerful, but his humility makes him pure. In leadership and service, this quality is invaluable, for power without humility leads to tyranny, while humility without strength leads to ineffectiveness. Hanuman embodies the harmony of both, making his leap a timeless lesson in how devotion transforms not only what we can achieve, but also how we achieve it. The leap across the ocean has been retold in countless ways because it captures the universal human experience of confronting the impossible. Everyone faces moments where challenges appear as vast and insurmountable as an endless sea. Hanuman's story teaches that the leap is not about denying fear, but about transcending it through faith. His devotion to Rama was so profound that no obstacle could stop him, and this truth remains relevant today. Whether in personal struggles, social causes, or spiritual quests, Hanuman's leap reminds us that devotion to a higher goal can propel us beyond the limits of ordinary existence. Thus, Hanuman's leap remains one of the most enduring images of the Ramayana. Part 4, Ravana, the villain who loved Shiva. The Ramayana presents Ravana as one of the most compelling villains in world literature, not merely because of his power or arrogance, but because of his complexity. He is not a figure of unmitigated evil, but a being of contradictions, a scholar and devotee of Shiva who simultaneously succumbs to desire, pride, and tyranny. His abduction of Sita and war against Rama make him the epic's antagonist, yet his character embodies the paradox that greatness and downfall often arise from the same qualities. Ravana is remembered not only as the demon king of Lanka, but also as an extraordinary ruler, musician, and ascetic whose devotion to Shiva was unmatched. This duality makes him both terrifying and fascinating, a villain whose love for the divine coexisted with destructive impulses. Ravana's devotion to Shiva is one of the most striking aspects of his persona. According to tradition, he was a devout worshipper who composed hymns such as the Shiva Tandava Stotram, a work that expresses ecstatic praise for the cosmic dance of Shiva. In his moments of devotion, Ravana is not portrayed as a demon, but as a sage, intoxicated with the presence of the divine. His penance and austerities were so intense that they won him boons of great power, which later made him almost invincible. This aspect of his life complicates his image, showing that even those who love God can be led astray by ego and desire. Ravana's story therefore illustrates that devotion without humility becomes dangerous, for it can fuel arrogance instead of dissolving it. His kingdom of Lanka further highlights his greatness and his flaws. Described as a city of immense wealth, beauty, and prosperity, it stood as a marvel of architecture and governance under his rule. Ravana was no ordinary tyrant, but a ruler with immense capability, knowledge, and charisma. He was well-versed in the Vedas, skilled in the arts, and respected for his wisdom. Yet this brilliance was overshadowed by his inability to control desire and pride. By abducting Sita, he not only dishonored Dharma, but also sowed the seeds of his own destruction. The tragedy of Ravana lies in the fact that a man of such gifts chose a path that led him to ruin, demonstrating that power without self-restraint becomes self-destructive. Ravana's love for Shiva and his pride in his own strength are closely intertwined. Legends recount how he once attempted to lift Mount Kailash, the abode of Shiva, to demonstrate his might. Shiva, amused but angered by this arrogance, pressed the mountain down with his toe, trapping Ravana beneath it. The demon king cried out in pain, but then composed hymns in praise of Shiva, singing with such devotion that Shiva released him. This episode captures his dual nature, audacious pride that challenges the divine, followed by genuine devotion that melts into song. It shows that Ravana was not devoid of spirituality, but his devotion was often undermined by hubris, making him a cautionary example of how ego corrupts even the noblest pursuits. The abduction of Sita remains the defining act that marks Ravana as a villain. Though he was warned by his counselors and even by his brother Vibhishana, Ravana allowed desire to cloud his judgment. His obsession with Sita was not merely lust, but also a desire to assert dominance over Rama, whom he saw as a rival. This choice, however, violated the code of Dharma and transformed Ravana from a mighty ruler into a figure of disgrace. Despite his accomplishments, this single act brought devastation upon his kingdom and family. Here the Ramayana teaches that one act of adharma can outweigh a lifetime of achievements, and even the greatest of kings can fall when blinded by desire. Yet Ravana's interactions reveal a man of remarkable intelligence and dignity, even in opposition. When Hanuman is captured in Lanka, Ravana does not immediately kill him, understanding the political implications of such a decision. He listens to counsel and displays restraint, qualities of a seasoned ruler. In battle, he fights with unmatched valor, earning even Rama's respect. After his death, Rama instructs that he be honored with a proper funeral, acknowledging his greatness despite his faults. This respect, shown by his enemy, indicates that Ravana was not a caricature of evil, but a complex figure who commanded admiration and fear. His villainy was not absolute. It was the result of his failure to balance his devotion and intellect with humility and discipline. Ravana's downfall is also deeply symbolic. Though he loved Shiva, his devotion was conditional, rooted in a desire for power rather than surrender. He performed penance to obtain boons that made him nearly immortal, yet he misused these gifts to dominate rather than serve. Part 6: The Golden Deer. Illusion and Temptation in Disguise. The episode of the Golden Deer in the Ramayana is one of the most symbolic and pivotal events in the epic, for it sets into motion the chain of circumstances that lead to Sita's abduction. The deer, a dazzling creature of enchanting beauty, is in reality the demon Maricha disguised by Ravana to deceive Rama and Sita. The episode demonstrates how illusion can manipulate perception and weaken even the wisest when cloaked in temptation. Sita's desire to possess the golden deer reflects the human attraction to beauty and rarity, while Rama's pursuit of it shows how even noble intentions can be swayed by love and attachment. This episode is not merely about a deceptive animal, but a profound allegory about desire, illusion, and the dangers of succumbing to appearances. When Sita first sees the golden deer grazing near their forest hermitage, she is entranced by its radiance. Its body glitters with hues of gold and silver, shimmering as though crafted from celestial light. For Sita, who has endured years of exile in the austerity of the forest, the deer seems to offer a rare glimpse of beauty and wonder. She longs for it either as a companion or as a gift for Rama, her request reflecting the natural human tendency to seek delight amidst hardship. Her wish is innocent, yet it carries profound consequences. This illustrates how even seemingly harmless desires can open the door to danger when one fails to recognize illusion. The golden deer's appeal lies in its rarity, a symbol of the extraordinary that distracts from the ordinary duties of vigilance. Rama, devoted to fulfilling Sita's wishes, sets out to capture the deer, entrusting her safety to Lakshmana. His decision, though motivated by love, reveals how attachment can cloud judgment. Rama, usually guided by dharma and wisdom, momentarily overlooks the suspicious nature of the deer's unnatural beauty. Even Lakshmana warns that the animal may be a demon in disguise, but Rama's desire to please Sita prevails. This demonstrates how temptation often preys not only on individuals, but also on the bonds between them. When devotion to a loved one turns into indulgence of their whims, even noble intentions can lead to vulnerability. The golden deer thus exposes the subtle ways illusion enters through love and attachment. The golden deer also represents the deceptive nature of appearances. Its glittering form hides Maricha's demonic reality, teaching that what glitters is not always good or pure. In life, many temptations arrive cloaked in beauty, luxury, or novelty, and the challenge lies in discerning truth beneath surface appearances. The episode warns that fascination with external charm blinds one to inner reality. Sita's innocent desire for beauty and Rama's eager response to fulfill it allow Ravana to exploit their vulnerability. The lesson is timeless, for human beings continue to be drawn toward outward glamour without questioning what lies beneath. Illusion is powerful precisely because it appeals to the senses and emotions before the mind has time to reflect. The climax of the episode comes when Rama shoots the deer with his arrow, and Maricha, in his dying breath, mimics Rama's voice crying out for help. This moment of deception deepens the illusion, drawing Sita into panic and compelling Lakshmana to leave her side, despite his better judgment. Ravana seizes this opportunity to abduct Sita. The false cry demonstrates how illusion not only appears beautiful, but also manipulates trust and emotion to entrap its victims. It is not the golden deer alone that deceives, but the chain of reactions it provokes, exploiting love, duty, and fear. In this way, the episode reveals how temptation creates a cascade of consequences, entangling even the most virtuous in its web. The golden deer also serves as a metaphor for Maya, the Sanskrit concept of illusion that permeates Hindu philosophy. Maya refers to the transient and deceptive nature of worldly appearances that distract the soul from ultimate truth. The deer embodies Maya, captivating Sita with its ephemeral charm and luring Rama away from vigilance. Just as Maya masks the eternal reality of the soul with the fleeting attractions of the material world, the deer masks danger with beauty. By succumbing to the lure of the deer, Rama and Sita momentarily become entangled in Maya, illustrating the universal struggle between truth and illusion. This philosophical dimension of the episode elevates it beyond mere narrative, making it a lesson in discernment and spiritual awareness. From a psychological perspective, the golden deer represents desire itself, which often appears innocent but conceals hidden consequences. Desire begins with a spark of fascination, grows into longing, and eventually dictates action, even at the cost of prudence. Sita's yearning for the deer begins as harmless admiration, but leads to demands and persuasion. Rama's determination to fulfill her wish leads to his absence, and this absence creates the opening for disaster. The episode reflects how unchecked desire, no matter how small, can destabilize harmony. It is not that desire is inherently evil, but when not tempered by wisdom and awareness, it becomes the gateway through which illusion manipulates destiny. The role of Lakshmana in this episode adds another layer of meaning. Though he warns against the suspicious nature of the deer, he ultimately obeys Rama's command and Sita's plea to leave her side when she believes Rama is in danger. His hesitation and eventual decision highlight the tension between loyalty, duty, and discernment. Lakshmana's dharma is to protect Sita, but his respect for her authority and his brother's command compels him to act otherwise. This shows how illusion not only affects those directly captivated by it, but also spreads its influence through others caught in the web of obligation and emotion. Illusion often triumphs not because people are ignorant, but because conflicting duties blur the clarity of decision-making. The symbolism of the golden deer also extends to the broader theme of temptation in human life. It reminds us that temptation often comes in forms that seem harmless or beautiful, making it difficult to resist. The allure of wealth, power, or pleasure often disguises the dangers that lie behind them, much like Maricha's glittering disguise. Just as Sita saw the deer as a harmless source of joy, people often view temptations as opportunities for happiness, unaware of their destructive potential. The episode encourages vigilance and discernment, teaching that wisdom lies in questioning the reality behind appearances and resisting the pull of fleeting attractions. Ultimately, the golden deer serves as the catalyst for one of the most critical turning points in the Ramayana. Without this episode, Ravana could not have abducted Sita, and the great war between Rama and Ravana might never have occurred. The deer thus represents how illusion and temptation often act as triggers for larger events, shaping destinies in unforeseen ways. Yet within this tragedy lies the unfolding of Dharma, for the chain of events leads to the confrontation between Rama and Ravana, between righteousness and arrogance. The golden deer, though deceptive, becomes the means by which the deeper truths of the epic are revealed, showing that even illusion has a role in the cosmic balance. Thus, the golden deer remains one of the most enduring symbols of the Ramayana, teaching that beauty without truth is illusion, and temptation often hides the seeds of downfall. Part 7. Bharata's Loyalty, the prince who didn't want the throne. Among the most moving episodes in the Ramayana is the story of Bharata, the younger brother of Rama, whose loyalty and humility stand as models of devotion to both family and dharma. When Rama is exiled due to the schemes of Kaikeyi, Bharata is horrified to learn that this was done in his name, for it made him the heir to Ayodhya's throne. Far from rejoicing at his sudden rise to power, Bharata is consumed with grief and outrage at the injustice inflicted on Rama. Unlike many princes who would embrace kingship, Bharata rejects it, declaring that the throne belongs only to Rama. His decision is not an act of weakness but of immense strength, for it demonstrates his ability to place duty, fairness, and loyalty above ambition. Bharata's refusal of the throne reveals the depth of his moral character. A throne in Ayodhya meant not only wealth and power, but the opportunity to rule over one of the greatest kingdoms of its time. Yet for Bharata, the throne acquired through deceit was tainted and therefore unacceptable. His loyalty to Rama and his sense of righteousness overpowered any desire for kingship. He regarded himself as a custodian rather than a usurper, showing that true leadership does not come from grasping power, but from honoring Dharma. Bharata's decision transforms him into one of the noblest figures of the Ramayana, embodying the rare virtue of renunciation in a world where power so often corrupts. When Bharata confronts his mother Kaikeyi after learning of her role in Rama's exile, his grief and anger highlight his sense of justice. He condemns her actions, declaring that her selfish ambition has fractured the harmony of their family and dishonored the throne of Ayodhya. This confrontation is remarkable, for it shows that true loyalty does not mean blind obedience to one's parents or elders, but allegiance to righteousness above all. Bharata's love for Rama and his respect for his father's intentions outweighed filial duty to a mother who had manipulated her husband for personal gain. His courage to speak truth to Kaikeyi demonstrates that Dharma sometimes requires defiance when those in positions of authority act unjustly. The journey Bharata makes to the forest to plead with Rama to return to Ayodhya further demonstrates his humility and loyalty. He arrives not as a claimant to power, but as a grieving brother, bringing with him ministers, elders, and the citizens of Ayodhya to appeal to Rama's sense of duty. His plea is heartfelt, for he argues that the kingdom belongs rightfully to Rama and that he, Bharata, has no desire to rule. This act illustrates the selflessness of his love and his rejection of ambition. Yet Rama, bound by his duty to fulfill Dasharatha's promise, refuses to return before the 14 years of exile are complete. The exchange between the brothers reveals the complexity of Dharma, where both Rama and Bharata uphold righteousness in their own ways, creating a profound moment of moral beauty. Bharata's solution to this dilemma is to act not as king but as Rama's regent, ruling in his brother's name rather than his own. He places Rama's sandals on the throne of Ayodhya as a symbol of Rama's sovereignty, and vows to govern as a caretaker until Rama's return. This act is one of the most powerful symbols in the Ramayana, representing humility, loyalty, and self-effacement. By enthroning Rama's sandals, Bharata makes it clear to all that the rightful king is in the forest, and that he himself is merely preserving the kingdom in trust. This decision ensures that Ayodhya remains loyal to Rama, preventing division and securing harmony in the kingdom. Bharata's loyalty also underscores the theme of brotherhood, which runs deeply throughout the Ramayana. While Rama and Lakshmana embody brotherly devotion through their shared exile, Bharata shows his devotion by rejecting the very power that exile offered him. In a time when many dynasties were torn apart by sibling rivalry over succession, Bharata's example shines as a rare instance of selfless love and fidelity. His loyalty to Rama is not passive but active, expressed in the way he governs Ayodhya with justice and restraint, ensuring that when Rama returns, he finds a kingdom intact and flourishing. In this way, Bharata's sacrifice parallels Rama's, for both brothers accept personal suffering to preserve Dharma. The symbolism of Bharata ruling in Rama's name also carries profound political and spiritual significance. Politically, it prevents the legitimacy of Rama's kingship from being undermined, ensuring continuity and stability in the kingdom. Spiritually, it shows that true rulers see themselves as custodians of Dharma rather than owners of power. Bharata's gesture reminds us that leadership is a responsibility, not a possession, and that the highest form of loyalty lies in serving without seeking recognition. His rejection of personal glory in favor of Rama's authority is a lesson in humility, showing that greatness is often found in renunciation rather than assertion. Bharata's grief throughout Rama's exile also reveals the cost of loyalty. He lives not as a king enjoying privilege, but as an ascetic, clothed simply and dwelling outside the palace, awaiting Rama's return. This austerity symbolizes his solidarity with his brother's suffering, for he refuses to enjoy comforts while Rama endures hardship in the forest. His self-denial is a profound act of empathy, binding him spiritually to Rama's exile. Through this, the Ramayana teaches that loyalty is not only about honoring the rights of others, but also about sharing their burdens. Bharata embodies this by willingly sacrificing his own comfort to remain true to his brother. From a broader perspective, Bharata's loyalty illustrates the diverse expressions of dharma in the Ramayana. While Rama's dharma required him to honor his father's word, Bharata's dharma required him to reject the fruits of that word when they violated justice. Both paths were valid, and both brothers upheld righteousness in ways that complemented each other. This complexity is part of the Ramayana's richness, for it shows that dharma is not a single rigid rule, but a balance of principles applied in context. Bharata's refusal of the throne is as essential to the preservation of dharma as Rama's acceptance of exile, and together they ensure that righteousness is upheld in all dimensions of the story. The figure of Bharata also stands as a counterpoint to Ravana, whose lust for power led to his downfall. Where Ravana could not restrain his desires, Bharata renounced kingship voluntarily, proving that self-restraint is more powerful than conquest. His loyalty highlights the contrast between ambition driven by ego and responsibility guided by humility. In this sense, Bharata represents the ideal of restraint, showing that greatness is not always found in wielding authority, but often in refusing it. His story reminds us that the true measure of a leader lies not in their capacity to dominate, but in their willingness to serve and protect righteousness above personal gain. The legacy of Bharata's loyalty has resonated across centuries as a model of ideal conduct. His story is often invoked as a lesson in humility, devotion, and the rejection of selfish ambition. By refusing to seize power, Bharata demonstrated that love and duty are stronger than temptation, and that true honor lies in preserving justice even at the cost of personal suffering. His act of enthroning Rama's sandals remains one of the most iconic symbols of loyalty in Indian tradition, encapsulating the idea that service to Dharma is greater than possession of power. In this way, Bharata, though he never wore the crown, remains a king in spirit, ruling hearts through his example of selfless fidelity. Thus, Bharata's story in the Ramayana reveals the profound strength of a prince who did not want the throne, but instead wanted only to uphold love, justice, and loyalty. Part 8. The Vanaras, Monkey Warriors and Cosmic Mischief. The Ramayana introduces the Vanaras, a race of monkey-like beings, as some of the most colorful and dynamic characters in the epic. Their role is far more than comic relief, for they are central to Rama's quest to rescue Sita. The Vanaras are depicted as powerful, playful, and often unpredictable, combining great courage with a sense of mischief that makes them unforgettable. They are not human, yet their loyalty, emotions, and intelligence bridge the gap between the animal and human realms. Led by King Sugriva and inspired by Hanuman, they become Rama's allies, forming an army capable of extraordinary feats. The Vanaras embody both chaos and order, their seemingly wild nature channeled into service of Dharma, showing that cosmic harmony often arises from unlikely sources. The origin of the Vanaras is rooted in divine purpose, for many are said to have been born from the gods themselves to aid Rama in his mission. They represent the manifestation of divine energy in forms that are both playful and powerful, a reminder that the universe works in mysterious ways. Unlike the polished order of Ayodhya, the Vanaras live in forests and mountains, close to nature and free from rigid social hierarchies. Their wildness contrasts with the discipline of Rama and Lakshmana, yet this very quality gives them the strength and adaptability needed for the battle ahead. In them, the Ramayana celebrates diversity of form and spirit, showing that Dharma is upheld not only by kings and sages, but also by beings who dwell on the fringes of human society. The most famous of the Vanaras is Hanuman, whose devotion and feats make him one of the greatest heroes of the Ramayana. Yet even apart from him, the Vanaras as a collective embody values of friendship, courage, and service. They are not portrayed as perfect, for they quarrel, boast, and sometimes act rashly, but these imperfections make them relatable and vibrant. Sugriva himself rises to kingship after the defeat of his brother Vali with Rama's help, and his alliance with Rama shows how bonds of trust can transform kingdoms. The Vanaras' loyalty to their leader and to Rama demonstrates that greatness does not always emerge from order alone, but often from the fiery spirit of beings who live beyond conventional boundaries. The mischief associated with the Vanaras adds to their charm. Their monkey-like traits are not concealed but celebrated, with their playfulness often blending with their heroism. When they build the bridge across the ocean to Lanka, they hurl mountains and trees into the sea with childlike energy, yet this chaos serves a divine purpose. Their laughter, agility, and unpredictable behavior reflect the cosmic play of creation itself, where disorder is not necessarily destructive but can be harnessed for good. In their antics, the Vanaras symbolize the wild energy of life, which, when directed by devotion and faith, becomes a force of liberation. This quality makes them essential to the Ramayana's vision of Dharma, for they reveal that even mischief can serve righteousness when aligned with truth. The Vanaras also embody the theme of transformation. Many of them possess the power to change shape, a skill that symbolizes the fluidity of identity and the shifting nature of reality. In battle, they use their forms to confuse enemies and demonstrate extraordinary strength. This shape-shifting quality reflects their liminal status between human and animal, order and chaos. It also speaks to the deeper spiritual lesson that identity is not fixed, and that devotion allows one to transcend limitations. The Vanaras' ability to shift forms mirrors the way faith transforms weakness into strength, showing that adaptability is a divine gift when used in service of Dharma. Hanuman's leap to Lanka is the most celebrated act of the Vanaras, but it also reflects the collective spirit of his race. The other Vanaras rejoice in his success, their energy and encouragement creating the conditions for his triumph. When they hear his account of Sita's captivity, their grief transforms into determination, binding them closer to Rama's cause. In this way, the Vanaras are not merely an army, but a community bound by shared devotion and purpose. Their unity in diversity makes them a mirror of the ideal society envisioned by the Ramayana, where individuals of different strengths contribute together to the victory of righteousness. The relationship between the Vanaras and Rama also underscores the inclusivity of Dharma. Though they are not kings or sages, their role in the battle against Ravana is indispensable. Rama does not view them as lesser allies, but honors their service, treating them with respect and gratitude. This respect elevates the Vanaras from wild forest dwellers to cosmic warriors whose contribution shapes the destiny of the world. Their alliance with Rama reflects the Ramayana's message that Dharma transcends social boundaries, calling upon all beings, regardless of origin, to participate in the cosmic struggle between truth and falsehood. The battles fought by the Vanaras in Lanka are described with vivid energy, highlighting their courage and ingenuity. They uproot trees, hurl boulders, and swarm the enemy with relentless force. Despite their playful nature, they become fierce warriors when faced with the injustice of Sita's captivity. This transformation from mischief to heroism reveals the dual potential within all beings, where play can turn into power when guided by devotion. The Vanaras show that even those underestimated by society can become defenders of truth when inspired by a righteous cause. Their courage reminds us that Dharma often relies on the unlikely and the overlooked to manifest its power. The cosmic mischief of the Vanaras also symbolizes the unpredictable nature of divine play. In Hindu thought, creation itself is seen as Lila, the play of the gods, where order and chaos intertwine to produce the universe. The Vanaras embody this concept by being both disorderly and divine, mischievous and heroic. Their laughter and play are not distractions but expressions of the same cosmic energy that sustains existence. In them, the Ramayana teaches that life's unpredictability is not something to be feared but embraced, for even apparent chaos can serve a higher order when aligned with Dharma. Their story is thus a reminder of the hidden divinity in the playful and the unexpected. In many retellings, the Vanaras are remembered with great affection for their loyalty, energy, and vitality. They are not distant or aloof, but deeply involved in the struggles and emotions of the story. Their devotion to Rama, their solidarity with one another, and their fearless approach to challenges make them enduring figures of inspiration. They represent the potential within all beings to channel raw energy into purposeful action, to transform play into service, and to turn mischief into devotion. Through them, the Ramayana celebrates the beauty of diversity and the strength that arises when wildness is harnessed by love. Thus, the Vanaras remain unforgettable in the Ramayana, embodying both cosmic mischief and heroic devotion in service of Dharma. Part 9, Rama's Return, the Origin of Diwali. The return of Rama to Ayodhya after 14 years of exile is one of the most joyful and triumphant moments in the Ramayana, symbolizing the victory of Dharma over adharma and the restoration of harmony after great trials. Having defeated Ravana and rescued Sita, Rama fulfills the vow made to his father and begins his journey back home. The people of Ayodhya, who had long awaited their beloved prince, welcomed him with uncontainable joy, illuminating the city with rows of lamps to celebrate his arrival. This moment is remembered as the origin of Diwali, the festival of lights, which continues to be celebrated across India and the world as a reminder of the triumph of light over darkness, good over evil, and truth over illusion. The symbolic power of Rama's return lies in its ability to unify the personal, social, and cosmic dimensions of the story. On a personal level, it marks the reunion of Rama with his family and the restoration of Sita's honor. On a social level, it restores rightful kingship to Ayodhya, ensuring stability and justice for the kingdom. On a cosmic level, it demonstrates that righteousness ultimately prevails even when tested by great adversity. The lighting of lamps by the people is not just an act of celebration, but a profound symbol of welcoming back truth and justice into their midst. Every lamp represented the dispelling of sorrow that had hung over Ayodhya since Rama's departure, making the city glow as if heaven itself had descended to earth. The festival of Diwali retains these symbolic associations, for the lighting of lamps continues to represent the victory of light over darkness. In the ancient narrative, the lamps lit the path for Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana as they entered Ayodhya, but in spiritual terms, they symbolize the inner light that guides humanity toward truth. Diwali is not merely a commemoration of an event, but an ongoing reminder of the universal battle between good and evil, both in the world and within the human heart. Just as the citizens of Ayodhya lit lamps to welcome Rama, people light lamps today to invite clarity, joy, and righteousness into their lives, keeping alive the spirit of Rama's return. The anticipation of Rama's return also reveals the deep love between ruler and subjects. For 14 years, the people of Ayodhya lived with grief and longing, their joy diminished by the absence of their rightful king. Bharata, who had refused to ascend the throne, ruled as Rama's regent with Rama's sandals placed upon it, ensuring that the kingdom remained loyal to him. This act preserved not only political stability, but also the collective hope of the people, who never ceased to believe in Rama's eventual return. Their devotion and loyalty mirror Rama's own commitment to Dharma, illustrating the bond of trust and love that defines ideal kingship. The celebration of Diwali is thus not only about Rama's triumph, but also about the enduring love between leader and people. The return to Ayodhya also highlights the theme of restoration after struggle. The Ramayana does not present victory as effortless, but as the outcome of immense sacrifice, patience, and moral discipline. Rama endured exile, Sita bore captivity, Lakshmana devoted himself to service, and the Vanaras risked their lives in battle. The joy of return is heightened by the memory of suffering, showing that true triumph arises not from avoidance of hardship, but from persistence through it. The lamps of Diwali therefore symbolize not only joy, but also gratitude, honoring the journey of endurance that made the victory possible. They remind us that light shines brightest after darkness, and that renewal comes after trials are faced with courage. The coronation of Rama that follows his return, known as Rama Pattabhisheka, is another vital aspect of this episode. Rama is crowned as the rightful king, marking the beginning of Rama Raja, the golden age of righteousness, justice, and prosperity. The celebration of Diwali is often linked not only to his return, but also to this coronation, which represents the establishment of ideal governance. Rama's kingship was characterized by fairness, compassion, and accessibility, ensuring that no subject felt neglected or oppressed. The festival thus carries political as well as spiritual meaning, celebrating the vision of a society where justice prevails and the welfare of all is prioritized. Diwali is therefore as much a festival of governance as of light, reminding rulers and citizens alike of the responsibilities that come with Dharma. From a cultural perspective, the story of Rama's return has provided a foundation for rituals and traditions that emphasize family, community, and joy. Diwali is celebrated with gatherings, feasts, and the exchange of gifts, echoing the communal joy of Ayodhya at Rama's homecoming. Families come together to light lamps, clean their homes, and share sweets, symbolizing renewal and unity. Firecrackers, though a later addition, symbolize the exuberance of celebration and the banishing of evil spirits. The festival embodies the idea that joy is greatest when shared, and that victory is not a solitary achievement, but a communal triumph. Just as Ayodhya rejoiced together, Diwali continues to unite people in celebration of light and harmony. The symbolism of Rama's return also extends to spiritual interpretations. The exile represents the soul's journey through trials and illusions, while the return to Ayodhya represents the soul's reunion with truth and inner light. The lighting of lamps reflects the awakening of spiritual wisdom, which dispels ignorance and reveals the divine presence within. In this way, Diwali is not only a historical commemoration, but also a spiritual metaphor. Every individual experiences exile in the form of struggles, temptations, and doubts, but like Rama, the soul is destined to return to its true home in the light of righteousness. The festival thus carries a message of hope and renewal for all, The figure of Sita in this return is equally important, for her honor, once questioned through the trial by fire, is now restored before the people of Ayodhya. Her presence alongside Rama during the triumphal return underscores that the victory is not merely military, but also moral and familial. The people's joy is not only for their king, but also for their queen, whose suffering symbolizes the pain of the kingdom itself. The reunion of Rama and Sita represents the restoration of harmony between masculine and feminine principles, between power and compassion, between justice and love. The celebration of Diwali, therefore, also honors the resilience of Sita, who endured captivity and returned as radiant as the lamps that welcomed her. The enduring popularity of Diwali as a festival arises from its universal themes. It is not restricted to any one community, but resonates with the human longing for light, joy, and renewal. Just as Ayodhya glowed with lamps to mark Rama's return, Diwali continues to fill homes and streets with radiance, reminding us that the triumph of good is always possible, even in the darkest of times. It teaches that despair is temporary, that justice will eventually be restored, and that light will always return after darkness. The Ramayana story thus transcends its epic setting to offer timeless wisdom that continues to guide and inspire. Thus, Rama's return to Ayodhya and the celebration of Diwali remain a timeless symbol of light's victory over darkness and the restoration of harmony after trials. Part 10. Beyond Good and Evil. The Moral Complexity of the Ramayana. The Ramayana is often remembered as a story of the triumph of good over evil, yet a closer reading reveals layers of moral complexity that challenge simple divisions. Rama is revered as the embodiment of Dharma, Ravana is condemned as the demon king, and Sita is honored as the symbol of purity. But the narrative continually presents situations where right and wrong are not easily separated. The choices characters make are shaped by competing duties, personal loyalties, and conflicting interpretations of Dharma. In this sense, the Ramayana is not only a tale of heroes and villains, but a meditation on the ambiguities of life, where even the most virtuous must face dilemmas without clear solutions. This complexity is what gives the epic its enduring depth. Rama, celebrated as the ideal king, faces choices that are far from ideal. His decision to accept exile rather than challenge Kaikeyi's demand reflects his obedience to his father's promise. But it also raises questions about whether duty to one's word should outweigh duty to justice. Later, his insistence on Sita's trial by fire, despite knowing her purity, exposes the painful tension between his role as husband and as king. To the people of Ayodhya, his decision preserves the throne's moral authority, but to modern readers, it appears as a betrayal of love and compassion. Rama's actions show that being virtuous does not mean avoiding painful choices, but rather bearing their consequences with resolve. His story complicates the notion of heroism by showing it as a burden rather than a reward. Ravana, the great antagonist, is likewise more than a simple villain. He is portrayed as a devotee of Shiva, a learned scholar, and a capable ruler who transformed Lanka into a prosperous kingdom. His arrogance and desire for Sita lead to his downfall, but his intelligence and devotion complicate the image of pure evil. Ravana's love for power and his inability to control desire are flaws that overshadow his greatness, yet they also make him profoundly human. His character reminds us that evil is not always monstrous, but often arises from excess, where virtues like courage and ambition become destructive when unchecked by humility. In this way, the Ramayana warns against the danger of one-sided greatness, where brilliance untempered by restraint leads to ruin. Sita, too, embodies the complexities of dharma and morality. Her insistence on accompanying Rama into exile can be seen as a testament to her devotion, but it also raises questions about autonomy, choice, and duty. In captivity, her steadfast resistance to Ravana is a mark of her strength, yet her submission to the trial by fire complicates her image as a heroine. She accepts the ordeal not because she doubts herself, but because she recognizes that public trust must be upheld. Later, when Rama banishes her again due to the whispers of his subjects, Sita chooses to raise her children in the forest rather than return, asserting her dignity in the face of injustice. Her story reveals that the Ramayana does not present women as passive figures, but as active agents navigating a world that demands painful sacrifices. The Vanaras add another layer of moral complexity, embodying both chaos and heroism. Their mischief and unpredictable behavior make them appear disorderly, yet their loyalty and courage help secure Rama's victory. Sugriva, for instance, seeks Rama's help in regaining his throne from his brother Vali, but the way Rama kills Vali, from hiding with an arrow, has long been debated as ethically questionable. Vali himself condemns Rama's action as dishonorable, raising the question of whether dharma justifies deceit in pursuit of a higher cause. By presenting such episodes, the Ramayana refuses to offer easy moral resolutions, instead inviting readers to reflect on the cost of righteousness and the complexity of justice in a world of competing duties. Lakshmana's role further demonstrates the challenges of loyalty and duty. He follows Rama into exile without hesitation, embodying devotion to his brother above all else. Yet his decision to leave Sita unattended when he rushes to help Rama during the Golden Deer episode shows how loyalty can also lead to tragedy. Torn between obedience to Rama and the duty to protect Sita, Lakshmana makes a choice that results in her abduction. His dilemma illustrates the difficulty of upholding multiple responsibilities at once. The Ramayana does not condemn him, but instead portrays his struggle as part of the larger reality that even the most faithful cannot avoid failure when faced with conflicting obligations. The moral complexity of the Ramayana also lies in its treatment of dharma as situational rather than absolute. Dharma is not presented as a fixed rule, but as a principle that must be interpreted in context, often at great personal cost. Rama's dharma as a son differs from his dharma as a king, and Sita's dharma as a wife conflicts with her dharma as an individual with dignity. These tensions highlight the fact that moral life is never simple, but always shaped by competing duties and circumstances. By dramatizing these dilemmas, the Ramayana encourages readers not to seek rigid answers, but to cultivate discernment, empathy, and humility when navigating the challenges of life. Even the battle between Rama and Ravana resists being reduced to a simple clash of good and evil. Ravana fights valiantly and dies a warrior's death, earning Rama's respect and an honorable funeral. Rama acknowledges Ravana's greatness even as he defeats him, showing that morality is not about demonizing one's enemy, but recognizing their humanity despite their faults. This recognition of Ravana's worth reflects the Ramayana's broader message that good and evil are not separate realms, but often intertwined within the same individuals. It teaches that true victory lies not in annihilating the opponent, but in acknowledging the complexity of their character and learning from their failures. The Ramayana's moral depth also lies in its enduring ability to invite reinterpretation across cultures and generations. For some, it is a straightforward tale of good triumphing over evil, while for others it is a text of profound ethical ambiguity. Reformers and poets have reimagined Sita as a feminist icon, Ravana as a tragic hero, and Rama as a king struggling with impossible burdens. These diverse interpretations reflect the richness of the epic, which resists confinement to a single moral framework. The complexity of the Ramayana is its strength, for it mirrors the complexity of human life, where choices are rarely clear and righteousness often demands sacrifice. The festival of Diwali, linked to Rama's return to Ayodhya, is often seen as a celebration of victory and light. Yet behind the joy lies the shadow of suffering endured during exile, captivity, and battle. The lamps symbolize not only triumph, but also the recognition that victory is born of struggle. In this sense, the celebration itself embodies the moral complexity of the Ramayana, for it reminds us that light shines only because darkness was first endured. The epic's greatness lies not in presenting a simple moral code, but in teaching that morality is forged in the crucible of hardship, where choices are painful and consequences enduring. Thus, the Ramayana transcends the binary of good and evil, presenting a world of moral ambiguity where characters embody both virtues and flaws, and where dharma is a path of discernment rather than certainty.